So last time on Dragon Ball Super, Vegito had travelled to the past to confront Belmod, needing to know exactly why he planned to murder Jiren's family and master. But once the shocking truth was revealed about the ritual of the gods and Beerus' involvement in Planet Vegeta's destruction, the enraged Ultra Vegito was left with more questions than answers. And in today's manga, we'll now go to any depths to gain the truth he truly desires. But before we begin, join the now over 1,800 members on our Patreon, where they see daily exclusive early previews of the Ultra Vegito story, discuss and contribute towards its narrative, and even in higher tiers, get to see the next parts to the story early. Yes, the next chapter to this story is already up there as we speak. Click the link in the description if interested, and enjoy. So our story continues with Ultra Vegito in a frankly scary state, enraged having just heard the life-changing information from Belmod that explained exactly how Planet Vegeta was destroyed, and crucially, Lord Beerus' supposed involvement. With his body still surrounded in his mysterious black lightning, he grabs his head, complaining in pain as if his anger itself is causing a headache. There's always something with these gods. Not one god can be trusted. I'll get the truth one way or another. Just you wait, Beerus. And with that said, Ultra Vegito then lifts his right arm into the air and using his time rings, immediately opens up a dark and ominous portal to the unknown. Looking down on the planet before him and muttering, "This timeline truly is a forsaken one. If not for Jiren now, it is for me. I'll never forget those words, Belmod, not till the day I die. I pray I never return, but at the very least, Jiren will grow up different this time around. Farewell, warrior." But meanwhile, back in the village of the young Jiren, Gicchin, his master, remains alert and cautious as he places his arm in front of the young disciple and lets out, "Jiren, stay here. You hear me? Do not follow me. I will be back soon. But for the safety of everyone here, I need to see what that strange disturbance was." And instantly at speed, the green elderly man shoots off into the sky right towards the unsuspecting Vegito. But as Gicchin approaches closer, unsurprisingly, he begins to become alarmed at what he sees, muttering, "What on Doro? What is that in the sky?" As when we look from a different angle, we see exactly what Gicchin sees, as it is indeed Ultra Vegito atop a corpse with his latest time portal open right above him. What? But soon, Gicchin with his sharp eyesight is able to make out who exactly the deceased figure on the ground is, and as he realizes, he whispers out, "No, it can't be! Lord Belmod!" As on the ground, lifeless and his pupils missing, lays none other than Lord Belmod, former god of destruction of Universe 11, and apparently a good friend at some point of Gicchin himself. Gicchin moves in closer to verify, completely unfearful of Vegito, thinking to himself, "It's true, Lord Belmod, the god of our universe slain by him." Before instantly enraged, Gicchin rushes in at Vegito with a fighting style reminiscent of an older Jiren, yelling, "You will not get away with this! Stand right there!" You're kidding me! But with that loud yell, Vegito finally senses the unexpectedly low power level of Jiren's master rushing towards him. But unlike his first thoughts on seeing the green-skinned warrior, right now, after hearing Belmod's revelation, this couldn't be any more of a worse time to make an introduction. Not in the mood right now, old man! Be gone! As the angered and ticked off few Saiyan then nonchalantly swipes his arm, clearly in an effort to immobilize, but not fatal. Regardless though, a powerful wave of air, like a tsunami, soon appears and heads straight for the surprise master. What is that? Before having even a second to dodge though, it strikes head on to the elderly teacher, sending him flying backwards like a ragdoll. And the distance Gicchin travels seems to be far greater than expected, and when he eventually does land flat on his back, it is with enough impact, the solid ground beneath him breaks apart. With his eyes closed, trying to let out the pain, he yells out, but no one is there to hear him. And as he struggles to open one eye, he lets out to his attacker, I failed you, Lord Belmod. I'm sorry, Jiren. But meanwhile, an oblivious and cold Ultra Vegito, who is still reeling from his mission to gain answers, just looks down at the injured Gicchin and says, So melodramatic. I refuse to believe the so-called master of Jiren could be so weak. Get up and move, or lay down and die. It means nothing to me either way. And with those cold, ambivalent words said, Vegito disappears into the time portal, arriving in an unknown timeline, leaving Gicchin behind with no one around to help treat his injuries. Hold on, Master! I'm coming! By a stroke of luck, the young Jiren, who couldn't help but do something to help his master, is seen running right towards Gicchin, despite his orders. Master Gicchin! As eventually, the youngster spots his teacher, seemingly just lazing about on the ground. Tears of happiness then begin to overflow from the naive child's face, perhaps even blurring his vision, as with a big smile he yells, Master, you're here! I knew you'd be okay. I'm sorry for disobeying you, but I had to. But as he finally reaches within touching distance, Jiren finally begins to see clearer, muttering, Master? As he then sees tragically that Gicchin, even from just the slightest of waves from Ultra Vegito, has died from his injuries, just like he was supposed to in the original timeline. For a moment, the young Jiren, who is unable to comprehend what he is seeing, the first time he is even seeing death, just remains quiet. As he tries to move his body though, the writing becomes clear on the wall. As within Jiren's giant alien-like eyes, the reflection of his dead master finally becomes undoubtable. No! Master! As the young Jiren, now with tears of sadness bursting forth, yells at the top of his voice. Now once again, despite the death of Belmod, alone, and the same need for vengeance in his heart to one day find his master's killer. Just this time, still with the entire village to help him accomplish his mission. But somewhere out in the depths of space, the scene shifts, and the ship that we see floating in the air is undisputably the ship of the Emperor of the Universe. As when we look inside, at the helm, we see Frieza in his first form, standing tall, looking out of his window onto a familiar planet, as Zarbon and Dodoria, his two right-hand men, stand right behind him. But soon, a caped foot steps forward towards the door of Frieza's room. And suddenly revealing himself and walking through without fear is none other than King Vegeta, as we finally then realize the scene we are seeing is in the distant past, before the prideful king then yells out, "Frieza! It's over! Your reign of tyranny over my people ends here! We've come to overthrow you once and for all, Frost Demon!" But Frieza, hearing this, just turns around calmly and with a sinister smirk just responds, "How bold of you, King Vegeta. But we? You and who else, my dear monkey? Your army is so petrified that they're blue in the face. Perhaps you should rethink this and head back to your little castle." Causing King Vegeta to immediately turn around to his men, and indeed, though they remain standing there, from the blue hue across their faces, not one of them truly feels brave enough to take on the powerful Frieza before them. Fools! Instantly angering the embarrassed king, who turns back angrily to Frieza, having been proven right, as he grumbles one final time. If these cowards don't have the backbone to stand up to you, then so be it. As the king of all Saiyans, it should be by my power alone that you breathe your final breaths, Frieza. Prepare yourself! As immediately, with as much conviction and ferocity as his future son, King Vegeta launches into the air, his fist cocked back, ready to attack Frieza head on. But unfortunately, just as we watched all those years ago, the king appears like a mere child before the emperor, as his first punch misses with the slightest of movements from Frieza. My, that almost hit me, Monkey King. Keep on going. I'm sure you'll land at least something. I wouldn't want you to embarrass yourself in front of your own men, would I? Shut it, Frieza! I'm just getting started! As unyieldingly, King Vegeta prepares yet another attack, foolishly increasing his strength, but doing nothing to his speed. But yet again, Frieza with ease just dodges down and escapes, his arms still behind his back as he smiles and laughs. That was even worse than before, monkey. Are you sure you've had your bananas today? Maybe it's about time I fed you something else instead. As King Vegeta, who had happily been on the assault all this time, suddenly finds himself struck with fear as the powerful Frost Demon begins an attack of his own. No! I can take this! What? Who the devil? What the? As simultaneously, Frieza, Zarbon, and Dodoria all react in shock, as Vegito suddenly appears to inexplicably save an equally shocked and quite frankly relieved King Vegeta. What? Who are you? Eventually leaving Frieza more angered than shocked as he looks into the eyes of the strange Saiyan-like figure, wondering if he recognizes him from anywhere. Continuing. I've never seen you among the king's elites. Don't tell me you're one of his lowly grunts. How dare you touch me, monkey? You'll die first if you're so eager to cut in line. But Vegito, who seems on the outside calm, but most definitely still enraged on the inside, just remains deathly silent, staring into Frieza's soul as if just to intimidate him. Let go! Let go! Meanwhile, Frieza tries his hardest to struggle and get his fist free from Vegito's grip. But eventually, despite being surprised that he can't break free, he then turns his head rapidly towards his two guards and yells, Dodoria? Zarbon? What the hell are you two imbeciles waiting for? Do something or die later, fools! Yes, my lord! As immediately the two visibly in fear henchmen simultaneously yell out in support, and both then mobilize into their respective fighting positions as if they would do anything to Vegito. It's an insult for those two ugly weaklings to even attempt to attack me. They can die for it. As Vegito then turns his look and aims towards the two elite Frieza soldiers, and with his hand raised, a shining ball of energy begins to appear on the top of his finger. Until suddenly, as fast as a sniper, Vegeta fires off two speedy energy blasts with extreme precision, and even leave the famed Emperor surprised with the outcome. As immediately, we see the brutal impact of Vegito's attack, with both shots firing right through the skulls of the paralyzed in place Dodoria and Zarbon. You, Lord Frieza! And when the angle changes, we are treated finally to the gruesome sight of both Zarbon and Dodoria, with what can only be described as bullet holes right through their foreheads, as rivers of blood drain down their stunned but lifeless faces, eventually both landing on their knees hard, until eventually smashing on the floor face first, now deceased and silent. There's no way! Leaving Frieza now shell-shocked at what he had just seen, from a Saiyan no less, as his whole body begins to uncontrollably shake in his first experience of fear in decades. What power? Who is this? While King Vegeta, knowing that the stranger had protected him and was somewhat on his side, stands shocked and more impressed than anything, knowing firsthand just how powerful both Dodoria and Zarbon were. Vegito, who couldn't care less though about his latest two victims, then finally turns back to Frieza and says, "Listen up, Frieza! That was just a taste of my power. I know full well those two lugnuts were the strongest of your men, and I assure you, they won't be the only two casualties if you don't start answering my damn questions." What? Answer your questions? This manner of speaking though, from the stranger who just murdered his own men, instantly triggers the tyrant though, as an angry Frieza responds, "Do you have any idea who you're talking to, monkey? You will die before I answer anything! Ha!" As with his teeth gritted in rage, and with his spare arm, he attempts to finally launch a fruitless attack at the divine Saiyan. You're going to regret that, Frieza! Did you just... As Vegito, with a near empty expression, as if he just cut through butter with a knife, swipes his arm in a flash, and instantly dismembers the arm of Frieza in an ironic and cold callback to what the Emperor would have gone on to do to Nail. Ah! My arm! What have you done? Leaving Frieza to quite rightly scream in pain as he permanently loses one of his limbs, as seemingly so easily to one of the so-called monkeys he was about to eradicate. King Vegeta, meanwhile, just stands still, infatuated with the scene of his glorified slave driver completely defeated, bleeding profusely at the hands of a completely random warrior, as he thinks internally, "This man, he is no ordinary fighter. Who is he? Is he truly this much stronger than even Frieza? And a Saiyan? No, it couldn't be. Frieza, now having lost a good chunk of blood and coming to terms with the pain of Vegito's attack, then falls to the ground. His knees bent, but not touching the floor, as he's held still tightly by Vegito's unyielding grip. But the Saiyan, continuing his serious look, lets out, "Still think it's a good idea to not answer me? Feel free to try again. I don't mind leaving you one leg too." "What? Okay, fine, I bend. What the hell do you want to know from me?" As this last threat then abruptly causes Frieza to change his tune and agree to Vegito's requests, as Vegito smirks and says, "Now that's a good boy. Gotta say, there's something extremely satisfying about seeing you in this position for once, Frieza." With his tone changed, Vegito then gets down to business and asks, "Tell me, Frieza. Tell me the real reason you're staring out your window at planet Vegeta. Tell me the reason you plan on destroying it today along with all the Saiyans. Was it Beerus? Was the god of destruction of this universe the one who gave you this order?" Huh? How could he know that? Frieza, hearing this, is left gobsmacked, almost to the point he forgets about the pain from his severed arm, as he thinks to himself, "This is preposterous. This damn monkey couldn't possibly have heard my conversations with Beerus. Was he among my ranks this entire time?" "What? Beerus?" While King Vegeta has a completely different reaction, as he thinks back to his own experiences with Lord Beerus, catering to his every beck and call, being even more of a slave to him than to Frieza, as he continues, "That monster was working with Frieza this whole time? But why? He told me he would spare us if I obeyed him. I'll feel so foolish if this is true." But Frieza, knowing that his orders from Beerus regarding the ritual were to be top secret and not to be shared at risk of his own erasure at the hands of a god, just quickly manages to regain his composure and spouts out instead, "The god of destruction? What are you talking about? What business would a destroyer have with the likes of me, let alone caring about a planet of lowly apes? I simply wanted these ticking time bombs gone. As you can see from their rambunctious king over there, they were always prone to rebellion. It was a matter of time, and not one I wanted to wait on within my own army. Especially with the rumor going about that one day a so-called Super Saiyan would appear. Of course, if that happened, that would pose all kinds of problems for myself. So I decided to get rid of them all here and now. If you hadn't stopped my punch, he'd be dead already. That is the truth of the situation. Happy now, monkey?" "The truth? That's what you call the truth, Frieza? I warned you." As Vegito, hearing this, becomes wide-eyed, as the entire ship itself begins to vibrate under his rising frustration until... As Vegito, without a second's thought and with true intention on his face, slams his fist into Frieza's skull as hard as possible, leaving the Emperor not only bloodied up, but with his teeth now missing and flying out as he yells once more in complete agony, only able to mutter, Why? I told you! I promise! But now angrier than ever at Frieza's insolence, even in this situation, the Saiyan yells, I said the truth, Frieza! This is your final chance! One more lie, and I send you to the next dimension! You know as well as I do, you don't give a damn about the legend of the Super Saiyan! You don't believe it for a second, and even if you did, tell me why you would so conveniently plan on letting Prince Vegeta, a Saiyan with one of the highest power levels at birth, survive? And why do you even plan on keeping him within your army to grow even stronger? Does that sound like it makes any sense to you, Frieza? Just try and deny what I've said, and I'll make sure you die a death far worse than beerus could ever give you. Stop! Frieza, though, in fear at this point, places his bloody half arm out in a futile effort to cover himself, before conceding further. Okay, it's true! It's true! I'll tell you the truth! This is pointless, and it seems you know everything already. And for a little while, there is silence on board the Frieza ship, until finally, Frieza begins the real explanation. Looking to the ground, as if trying to recount hidden memories, the Emperor lets out, yes, it is as you said. Beerus the Destroyer, the most powerful being in this universe, a god, demanded the destruction of planet Vegeta, one of my own enslaved planets that proved profitable time and time again with those battle-hungry monkeys working for me. Of course, I couldn't say no, but it was supposed to be his job, yet he forced me to do it, a favor I had to do in exchange for him letting me continue my affairs, some of which was destroying planets myself, an act destroyers apparently can sometimes see as encroaching on their turf. But it's true, for whatever reason, he asked me to spare the prince before I destroyed planet Vegeta. So I sent that twerp and his weakling men off on a mission not too long ago in preparation for this day. I was told to raise him and hone his battle skills. I didn't get it at first, since the monkey would hardly ever even reach the level of my Ginyu Force, let alone become a challenge for beerus. But I did it anyway. After all, there's not much else I could say, but yes to that damn destroyer. And that's really all I know. In response, a look of gloom then strikes the king's face, as his earlier fears become confirmed, thinking to himself, what? Vegeta? What business would Lord Beerus want with him? What is the meaning of this? But meanwhile, Vegeta remains in silence, with a surprisingly more calm look, as if he was expecting the reply and now was just absorbing it mentally until he finally says, I knew it. Thank you, Frieza. And with that said, Vegeta then politely lets go of Frieza's one remaining fist, leading to the Emperor yelling ecstatically, finally! But just as Frieza finishes, Vegito silently changes his hand position to that of a flat palm in front of the confused Frieza, who mutters, Monkey? What are you doing? Okay! As instantly, in a cold move expected of the God Killer, with fury in his heart, Vegito shouts out at the top of his lungs, ironically, the signature move of Beerus himself, erasing the downright confused Frieza on the spot, and almost instantly, so fast, the Dark Emperor couldn't even move an inch or say a word. Until in the end, before Vegito and the shocked King Vegeta in the background is just the dusty, final remnants of Lord Frieza, who in this timeline will never be revived again. What? Frieza! He defeated him! Leaving the king truly wondering if he was dreaming or if this was really reality. But that was it for today's video, guys, and if you made it this far, leave me a hashtag Frieza in the comments down below and let me know what you think Vegeta will do now that he saved the Saiyans. Or you can just find out right now by supporting me on my Patreon from just $3, where you can not only see the next entire chapter, but also gain over 250 plus other fan manga to read too. Yes, 250. It's the deal of the century.